Alright, subpart D, construction, 195-200. Scope of the subpart, prescribe the minimum requirement for the construction of the new pipeline, shift the seal pipe with the relocating, replacing the otherwise short for the existing pipeline, shift the construction of the seal pipeline with the subpart does not apply with the movement of the pipe cover the 195-442. Or sorry, 424, 195-202 for the compliance with the specification standard. Each pipeline shift the construction for the incorporate the compliance to operate with the provision specification standard with the consistent with the requirements of this part. 195-204, the inspection, general inspection must be provided with the initial for the installation pipe with the pipeline shift with the requirements for the subpart. Any operator person when you perform the inspection must be trained with the qualification in favor of the construction. With the inspector, the operator must not use the operator personnel to perform required inspection of the operator with the perform personnel to perform the construction tab with requiring inspection. Note if there is inspection, if this section prohibits the operator of the inspection construction take for the operation personnel who involved with the other construction task. Alright, 195-205, repairing, alteration, reconstruction of above ground breakout tanks that have been inserted above ground. Breakout tanks have been repaired with the altered reconstruct the return of the surface that be capable of withstanding the internal pressure produced that has the liquid to be stored in the area and anticipated external loads. After October 2002, 2000, the paragraph 8 section required the following tanks designed with approximately atmospheric pressure for the construction of the alcohol and low alloy steel well the refrigerated tanks built the API standard 650 incorporated the reference ANF 195.3 of the Progester standard 12C with repair, alteration, reconstruction incorporated the API standard 653 except for the 643 and incorporated the reference 1953 for the tanks of the API specs 12F of the incorporated reference 1905 of the API standard 620 with incorporated the reference 195F the re-alterating reconstruction must in accordance with the design, welding, examination, and material requirements of those respective standards. For the high pressure tanks built in the API standards for 2510 with incorporated the reference prepare for the alteration reconstruction must be incorporated the appearance accordance with the API standard 510 incorporated the reference 1953 195 206 with the material inspection. No pipe of the other component may be installed with the pipeline system on the left that has been visually inspected inside of the insulation ensure that it is not damaged the manual that could be impaired with the strength of the reduce the serviceability 195-207 transportation of the pipe railroad pipeline operated with the hoop shaft of the 20% more than the SMYS operator may not even have the operated diameter wall of 70 to the 1 more than the transported railroad unless the transportation performed according to the API RPL FL1 incorporated the reference 195.3 ship barge or pipeline operation hoop shaft of the 20% of the SMYS of the operator may not have the piping having the operative diameter of the thickness of the ratio of the 71 more than transported ship the barge to the both inland with the marine waterways unless the transportation is performed in accordance with the API RPL FLW incorporated the reference 1953 195.3 truck the pipeline operated with the hoop shaft of the 20% of the more the SMYS operated must use the pipeline pipe having outer diameter of the wall thickness of 71 more than the transported truck unless the transportation performed in accordance with the API RPFLT incorporated the reference 1950 195.3. Alright, and 195.208, welding and support and brake with the support of the brake with not welding directly with the pipe without operating with the pressure more than 100 psi gauge. 195.210, the pipeline co-location pipeline way must be selected with the void with the practical areas containing private dwelling industrial buildings to play with the public assembly. No pipeline may be located with the 50 feet in the private dwelling industrial building and play with the public assembly in which the person can congregate assembly unless provided at least 12 inches of the cover addition with the guide 195-48. 195-212, bending of the pipe must not have the wrinkle of the bend that each of the field bending of the pipe with the following. Bend must impair the serviceability of the pipe. Each bend must have the smooth of the contour with the free of the buckling, the crack, and the other mechanical damage on pipe and containing with the longitudinal weld must also be near practicable with the natural axis of the bend unless the bend is made with an internal bending mandrel with a pipe with the 12 3/4 of the inch or the less nominal outside of the half the diameter wall thickness ratio less than 70%, less than 70. Each circumferential weld with the located with the shaft during the bending with the predetermined deformation pipe with non-destructive testing either before and after the bending of the process. 195-214 welding procedure welding must perform qualified welder welded operative with welding procedure qualified under Section 5 of Section 12 of the Appendix A, Appendix B of the API Standard 1104, or Section 9 of the SME boiler pressure vessel codes incorporated the reference 195.3 with the quality of test the qualified welding procedure must be determined destructive testing. Each welding procedure must be recorded detail include the result of the qualified tip of the recorded must be retained and followed by even with the procedure used. 195-216 welding miter joint with the major joint is not permitted to include the deflection of up to 3 degrees of the color of misalignment. 195-222 welding operator qualification welding operator. Each welding operator must be qualified in accordance with Section 6, Section 12 of the Appendix A of the Appendix B of the API Standard 1104, or Section 9 of the SME boiler pressure vessel code, and except for those of the welder operator qualified under earlier edition listed in 195.3 with the way weld and not requalify over the earlier edition. No welder operator may weld the welding process unless the and proceed within 6 calendar months of the welder operator has engaged with the welding, and the profit has one with the weld test of the unacceptable under Section 9 of the Appendix A of the API Standard 1104. 195, 22, 24 with welding. Whether welding must be protected with the welder condition that would impair the quality of the completed weld. 195, 226 with welded arc burns. Each arc burn must be repaired. Arc burn may be repaired completely. Removed after the grinding. The grinding does not reduce the remaining of the wall thickness of the minimum thickness required with the tolerance of the specification to which the pipe of the manufacturer notification with which repair with the grinding cylinder with the pipe of the container the entire match must be removed. The ground may not be welded. The pipe of the fitting of the being welded. 195, 228 the welding inspection standards acceptability. Welding must be inspected to ensure the compliance with the requirements for the Subpart visual inspection must be supplemented with non-destructive testing acceptable. The weld determined according with the standard Section 9 Appendix A of the API Standard 1104. Appendix A of the API Standard 1104 may not be used to accept cracks. Alright, 195, 230 for welding repair and removal of the defects. Each weld is unsuspected under 195, 228 but must remove the repair with each suspect with the weld with the offshore with the pipeline install with the pipe blade with the vessel welded and removed it has with the crack that has more than 8% of the weld length. Each weld head repaired the defect with the removed down to the sound of the metal segment and repair with the preheat of the condition that exists which would adversely affect with the qualified welded repair. After the repair segment weld the repaired must be inspected to ensure that acceptable repair of the crack. Any defect previously repaired must be in accordance with the written weld. The repair must proceed that must be qualified in 195, 214. The weld repair with the procedure provided minimum mechanical properties specified the welding procedure that make with the original weld upon completion of the final weld. Repair 195, 234. Weld non-destructive testing. Weld non-destructive test may any of the process clearly indicate the defect that may affect the integrity of the weld. But the non-destructive testing welding must be performed according to the written stat of the perceived non-destructive testing with the person that has been trained with the established perceived the equipment employed with the testing procedure with the proper interpretation of the age of the weld. Inspection must be established to ensure the acceptable of the weld. 185, 228. Currently, constructing at least 10% of the girth welds may be made by each welder or welding operator during each of the weld during the day must be non-destructive tested under the entire circumference of the weld. All girth and welds installed each day with the following locations non-destructive testing over the entire circumference except with non-destructive testing impractical. The girth weld it would need not to be tested the number of the girth welds which for the testing the impractical does not exceed 10% of the girth welds installed that day. An onshore location where loss of heads with liquid could reasonably be expected the population extreme of the river, the lake, or the reservoir, other body of the water, offshore area, within railroad or public right of way, with the overhead road crossing within tunnels, within limits of the incorporated subdivision, state government, and within populated areas, including not limited to residential subdivisions, shopping centers, schools, designated commercial area, within industrial facilities, public institutions, place for the public assembly. When the installation is used to pipe 100% of the old girth wells must be non-destructive tested. Pipeline ties, including the ties and the replacement section, 100% of the girth welds must be non-destructive tested. 195, 236 through 224. 195, 236 through 195, 244 reserved. 195, 246 installation of pipe and ditch. A pipe installed in the ditch must be installed in the manner with the minimized interaction of the secondary short of the possibility of damage of the pipe. Except for the pipe of the Gulf of Mexico, inlet with the water light less than 15 feet deep. The offshore pipe of the water is less than 12 feet deep, but not more than 200 feet deep. The deep is made for the beam with the low water, but must be installed with the top of the pipe below the water with the natural bottom. Is determined the breaking up of the general accepted practice is unless the pipe is supported with by stanchions held in place by anchors or heavy concrete coating with of protected equivalent means. 195, 248 covered over buried pipeline unless specified exempted support with all pipe must be if that is below the level of cultivation provided with the paragraph D of the section pipe must be installed over the covered between the top of the pipe and the ground level of the roadbed, river bottom, underwater, natural bottom. Determine the record of the generally accepted particles as applicable apply with the following table. Alright, and then show the location. Except for the Gulf of Mexico, the inlet with the water less than 15 feet of the deep, less than cover the minimum required with paragraph A of the section 195, 210, that may be used and is impractical to comply with the minimum cover requirements. Additional protections provided with the equivalent minimum required cover. 195, 250 clearance of the between the pipe and underground structure and pipe of the installed underground. They have at least 12 inches of the clearance outside of the pipe of the extremity of the other ground structure, except for the damage minimum clearance is not less than 12 inches, but not less than 2 inches. However, whether 12 inches of the clearance is impractical, the clearance may be reduced in adequate provision of the maybe corrosion control. 195 through 52 backfilling. When the ditch is pipeline backfilled, it must be backfilled in a manner that provide them firm support under the pipe that prevent the damage of the pipe going with the equipment from the backfilled material. 195, 254 above ground component. The component that may be installed above ground following the situation. Other applicable requirements of the part with comply with the overhead crossing the highway, the railroad's body with the water span over the ditches, go with the escape of the traps, the block valve of the air, the control of the operator, any accessible to the public, each component cover the section and project for the force that conserve the anticipated load. 195, 256 crossing the railroad highways. Pipe each of the railroad highway must be installed with an adequate withstand with the dynamic force to conserve the anticipated traffic loads. 195, 258 is valves general. Each valve must be installed at the location accessible. The authority authorized the employee that is critical to the dams of the tampering. Each submerged valve located offshore of the inland navigable waters must be marked located. The eventual survey technique for the facility with a quick location when the operating of the valve is required. When operation of the valve is required. 195, 260 valve location. Valve is installed at each of the following location. One section of the discharge end of the pump station, the main of the permits of the isolation of the pump station, the equipment of the emergency on each line, the entering and leaving the breakout with the storage tank of the manner permits the location isolation of the tank from either area from the other facilities. On each main line location along with the pipeline shift to minimize the damage pollution of the accidental has the liquid discharge of the appropriate terrain, open country offshore area of the population area of the populated areas on the lateral take off the line of the manner with the permit shutting off the lateral without interrupting the of the truck line. On each side of the water crossing more than 100 feet of the high water mark with a high water mark on left of the administrator found with the particular close cave of the valve is not justified. On each side of the reservoir holding water human consumption. 195, 262 pump equipment. Adequate ventilation must be provided with the pumps and station buildings to prevent the accumulation of the hazardous vapors. The warning device must be installed with warning of the presence of the hazardous vapor of the pumping station building. The following must be provided with each of the pump station safety device to prevent overpressure of the pumping equipment, including the auxiliary pumping equipment within the pumping station. The device emergency shutdown for each of the pump station. If power the necessary to actuate the safety device auxiliary power supply. Each safety device must be tested under the condition that approximately actual operation of the found with the function properly before the pumping station before you may be used. Except for the offshore pipeline with the pumping and equipment has been installed properly within the control of the operator at least 50 feet from the boundary of the pump station. Adequate fire protection must be installed with each of the pump station. Fire protection system installed with the required with the use of the pumps and motive power must be provided with the pumps separate from the power of the operator of the station. Alright, 195, 264, impoundment protection against the entry of the non-normal emergency venting pressure vacuum relief of the above ground breakout tanks. Meaning the provider with the container that has a liquid in the vent with the spillage valued above the ground breakout tank with the after October 2nd, 2000, compliant with the paragraph A of the section, where the following above the ground breakout tanks specify that the tanks built in the API specs 12F, the API standard 6220, and others of the standard 6, such as the API standard 650 or the predecessor standard 12C, the installation impoundment that must be in accordance with the filing section, the NFPA, and National Fire Protection Agency 30 incorporated with the reference 195.3 impoundment around the breakout tank that must be installed in accordance with section 222. 11.2 and impoundment drain for the required remotely impound the corner or area that been installed in accordance with section 22.11.1 for the tanks the API standard 2510 corporate reference 1951.95.3 the installation of the impoundment must be in accordance with section 511 the API standard 2510 above ground breakout tank area with the most adequately protected against the unauthorized air entry of the normal entry emergency relief vetting of the must provide the atmospheric pressure of the breakout tank vacuum relief the device must provide each low pressure with a high pressure breakout tank for normal emergency relief pressure vacuum relief relieving device installed above the ground tanks of October 2nd 2000 October 2nd 2000 compliant with the the section requires the following tanks to specify the normal emergency the relief and the venting installed the atmospheric pressure tank of the API special the 12F must be in accordance with section 4 with appendix B and the C of the API spec 12F the incorporated reference in 195.3 normal emergency relief installed the atmospheric pressure tank for the bill API standard with the 650 predecessor and standard 12C must be in accordance with the API standard 2000 incorporated the reference of 195.3 pressure relieving emergency of the vacuum relief device installed the low pressure tank of the built when the API standard 620 must be in accordance with section 9 of the API standard 620 incorporated the reference C with the 195.3 reference normal emergency venting of the requirements of the API standard 2000 incorporated the reference of 195.3 pressure vacuum relieving the device installed with the high pressure tank of the built in the API standard 2510 must be in accordance with section 711 and the API standard 2510 incorporate the reference C 195.3. Alright, 195.266 construction record complete record that should be found with the maintain of the operator involved with the life of each of the pipeline facilities, the whole number of the girth well, the number of the non-destructive tests included the number of the rejected disposition of each rejected well, the amount of the location covered each of the side of the pipe install the location of each of the crossing and the other pipeline, location of each buried utility crossing, location of each overhead crossing, location of each valve, the corrosion testing station. So part E, pressure testing.